Hello everyone, Kinbaris here, and I'm going to be commentating over a build that I had a while ago as an engineer in solo queue. In this build I'm running a Celestial Rifle, but it's a different variation. You'll see I'm just kind of talking to people right now, so I'm gonna explain the build while we're waiting. It's a 60440, and what it does is it uses power shoes for mobility, so you're not losing a lot of movement speed from the speedy kits. You're just not going to have permanent swiftness. Instead, you're just going to have a 25% movement speed buff. But the reason I'm doing this variation in this specific build is for the number 3. I think it's the minor trait in the inventions line, which basically gives me a full healing recharge whenever I get struck below 25% health, which as an engineer can be very nice, especially if you're against Condi builds and you just need that extra health to survive. It'll give you a little bit of extra tankiness and basically durability in fights. It's especially nice for solo queue because one of the things that you can do on it really effectively is push far. And the biggest thing about pushing far with this build is if you don't get the 1v1 and you start getting ganked out, you can still hold the point by using line of sight. I'm heading mid in this game though because Battle of Kyle does not have a lot of good line of sight spots. You can see their composition, they got a Necro, so that always worries me. I don't like having to fight against Necros as an engineer because their Condi transfers will literally use your own Condis to kill you. Even if they're a power Necro, it's dangerous. So whenever you see a Necro on the enemy team, you want to be very careful of how you play against them. So you can see I'm not actually slow because of my 25% movement speed buff. So I'm going to be heading up to mid here. And I went up the side this time because I wanted to break the windows in order to, give myself a little bit of range if I have to pull out. You can see my guy engaged on the enemies before they would come up. So I just start to throw grenades in order to make sure that if they do come up, they're going to be suffering constant pressure. They do start shooting their treb at us, so I decide to move up and hit their treb. You can see one of my warriors is already going up there, but considering we have a pretty significant pressure on all the other points, I decided it's safe enough for me to go up there. Also, because he's a Condi build, I figure we're going to need a little bit extra damage in order to actually win this point. So I start damaging the treb, and I realize their warrior's just going to focus ours, so I'm completely free to damage the treb however I am able to. And so I start putting grenades down, I switch back to my rifle at some point and start putting more damage in. I'm just alternating between my direct damage sources that give me a stronger point. At this point I'm just going to knock their warrior back, and then I'm going to turn around and go and decide to help mid, because as you can see on the minimap, mid is under a ton of pressure right now, and if I can get in there and help change the fight, that's always the best option for me rather than chase down one random player. So you can see I begin to engage with my rifle and I realize, oh gosh, this is a power necro, so I'm gonna have to be careful of all the burst. So I start blocking in order to take the ranger's rapid fire, and you can see I faked the supply crate. I dodged right before it came down in order to bait out dodges from them and still reserve the cooldown for when I need it. So I decide to push up, seeing that the Necro's not there, and then I decide to fully commit to this fight after putting down that, and I put a supply crate. I missed the crowbar, so I unfortunately didn't put down the pressure that I wanted to on the ranger, and I'm starting to soak up a lot of damage with my bleeds, so I have to pick up healing packs and everything to stay alive, and unfortunately their Necro went Lich form, and I was unable to take that much pressure, and I was also unable to escape because of the immobilize that the ranger put me under. Entangle is a very, very dangerous cooldown that you have to watch for on any class because it is unblockable. If you're in stealth, you will avoid it, but you cannot block it, so it's definitely something you have to watch for, especially when you're using your shield. You can see I told my team that the Necro Lich was down because letting your team know when a Necro's Lich or Plague form is down is probably the best thing to help you take them down. So here I see two enemies on my home point, and I decide I'm just going to engage them, see if I can either hold them here or end up killing them and taking the cap. Knowing that I outranged them with my grenades, I decide to engage from far away to put some initial Condi pressure on, and as they start bursting, I decide that I need to dodge. I do get immobilized and then immediately Elixir S to avoid all the damage that came out, and then I stealth up to get a clean reopening on the Necro. I try to pull him in, and I do it successfully, but I, again, get interrupted when I try to use my crowbar. So I start blocking in order to make sure I don't get shattered again, and that I can block all of the Necro's abilities trying to gain him lifesteal. So, seeing I got my crowbar up, I'm trying to engage on them with that, but I can't, and I take a shatter from the Mesmer before I'm able to use my heal. So unfortunately, this fight did not go the way I wanted to, and I was unfortunately stomped out while letting their team get points. That was a little bit of a misplay on my part. I probably just should have left the point and gone too far, or something where I could have been of more help to my team. So here I'm going to respawn, and as you saw in the last fight, I do want to put this out there. When you are fighting a Mesmer, you definitely just want to keep AoE Condis up. The more AoE Condi that you can put up on your point, the better chance you're going to have at fighting the enemy Mesmer and winning. Also, if you can learn their burst combos, you can block and dodge their shatters, which is going to basically negate all of their damage, and you'll easily be able to finish them off without much trouble. I will have a fight later in this video where I do that, and I'll make sure I point out areas that you need to look for. So you can see they have a ton of pressure on mid, and I decide it's just going to be best for me to go to the far point. So I head to the far point, see that there's nobody on it, and then I move up to take the full cap for myself. I know that my team's getting wiped at mid, so I know I'm going to have to clear off this point very soon, but I can see their rangers coming, so I decide to block and absorb any knockbacks and stuff that he's doing. As he rapid fires me, I pull him in with my magnet, and then I put some confusion damage on him in order to put some pressure on him while he tries to spam arrows on me. I then hit him with basic rifle shots to put in more damage and force him to use defensive cooldowns. As he knocks me back, I Elixir S in order to avoid any sort of damage from a rapid fire. He stealths, so I counter stealth, and see that he's just putting down a barrage, so I engage on him again with my rifle and start putting in a ton of upfront damage, followed by grenades for heavy condition damage. I do fall off the ledge and completely miss my poison grenades, but he's low enough health that that doesn't really matter, and I can pull him in and finish him off with a crowbar. At this point, I'm going to get a clean stomp, because he's not even going to try to interrupt me, and then get the full cap for my team. At this point, I can see most of their players are getting wiped off the map, so I decided to just kind of stay at the far point after heading towards that way and just deciding not to. I can see we've got a good map presence, and most of their guys are going to be off respawn soon, so I figure I'll just try to hold them as long as I can in order to give my team a numbers advantage in the field. I line of sight to make sure they don't see me incoming, and then engage on this ranger again with my magnet, completely missed due to his trait that stops him from taking crowd control the first time every 90 seconds. He elites, so I decide to counter with my elite to put in a lot of immobilize and conditions towards him to give myself the upper hand in the fight. I blast area weakness in an attempt to stop him from putting up melee pressure on me. I see he's really low, so I decide to engage on him and just go for the cap later. I take him down with basic rifle shots, and then go for an Elixir S stomp to avoid anyone coming out of the spawn and interrupting me. I get the kill, and then move back to far point to get the full cap for my team. As I can see, we don't really have a ton of pressure being applied anywhere else on the map, so I'm free to just sit here and bunker it against their team as long as I need to. So here I can see that there's a little bit of pressure on the trebuchet, so I decide to kind of move up towards that. Decided to see if anyone's coming too. The ranger just decides he doesn't want any part of that, so I decide to engage on their Mesmer, seeing that he's really low. He ends up kind of outplaying me here and tries to do a burst, but I block most of it, and then he heals up and continues to kite around in stealth. Now because we're not on a point, I can't force him outside of stealth, and there's not a very reliable way to predict exactly where he's going to be, so I'm only able to guess with grenades. At this point, he's going to distortion and attempt to get onto the point to decap it, I try to pull him, but my magnet misses, so I'm forced to just stand toe-to-toe with this very bursty Shatter Mesmer on a point and avoid stealthing. He does mow me, so I retreat and just decide to let him have the point. In this situation, as I've said in previous videos, you never want to sit there with a MOA effect on you, because it's just going to let the Mesmer get an easy shatter combo off on you. I see he's stealth, so I decide to put down AoE around me to avoid any sort of burst that could come out from him, because if I can destroy his clones before they get to me to shatter, then there's nothing he can really do about me. I can see he's really low, and he's used up most of his bursty cooldowns, although he does have his null field up, so I decide it's not safe for me to engage him. After that's gone, his Necro buddy comes in with a Lich and tries to get a quick gank on me. He gets me really low, so I block and realize, oh my gosh, my health is really low, I need to heal up. So I heal up and decide to continue kiting him around to avoid his damage. You never want to fight toe-to-toe with a Lich, because it'll kill you every single time. I move to re-engage on him, but see his Mesmer coming in, and then their warrior comes up behind me, so I decide it's best for me to just pull out and engage this ranger at mid. I try to pull him, and I attempt to hit him with a crowbar, but it completely misses due to him getting an Aegis buff from one of his teammates. I start getting shattered on, and then begin to block to absorb the damage, and then move to heal up and push back onto the point. I'm taking arrow shots from their ranger, and it's a little much, so I have to line of sight the ranger and start kiting their warrior around. I drop a supply crate behind me to CC the enemies and make sure that they can't finish me off with a strong burst, and then I begin to pick up my medical packs in order to keep myself in this fight and support my team. I see that they got one of my teammates down, so I blast my turret to knock him back and then go for an invulnerable res to get my teammate up. I block with my shield to avoid any sort of daze coming out from the Mesmer, although I still happen to get dazed by the very last one. And then I begin to drop a bunch of AoE condies to start melting the warrior. I get immobilized by the ranger, but then I dodge out of it once the condition gets cleansed in order to avoid getting condi bursted by their ranger. At this point, we're just going to win the match, and I'm not going to have to worry about anything else. So I hope you guys like the video. If you like it, please leave a comment, like, subscribe, and go and check out my Twitch channel, Kinbaris. So, yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed. Have a good one, everyone.